Let's see, 5 friends from childhood get back together to see if they can finish a famous pub crawl, and unfortunately they must also contend with saving humanity. Hello to everyone watching, and thanks again for getting your movie information from both Real Screen Reviews and We Live Film. I am movie critic Nick Iacobucci, and our next movie review is for The World's End. This comedy and horror film opened around the United States in late August 2013, and it stars Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, Martin Freeman, and Rosamund Pike. The World's End comes to us from director Edgar Wright, and he collaborates for the 3rd time with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, having already turned out both Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz prior to this. This tale sees the reuniting of 5 close friends after 20 years has found its way into separating them. These guys have come together in an attempt to see if they can finish a famous pub crawl that they fell short of completing many moons ago. They're trying to get through a dozen pubs and a dozen pints, with all of it ending at the pub known as The World's End. This group is led by an adolescent adult named Gary, and he is one that has never moved on, where all the rest have become members of society. Before too long, their own issues will become secondary to the terror that threatens their return to Newton Haven, and forget about the world, will they even be able to save themselves? Well, people, I enjoyed Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and I would say that I liked The World's End the best of all 3. I think that this is one of the best examples of people working very well together and end up collaborating on projects instead of competing against one another while making them. The results of these collaborations have yielded some witty and original ideas, and the way that Pegg and Wright can interweave the most outrageous genres together just baffles me. What separates this film from most comedies is the dense and complex plot that goes right along with it. There are many laughs that seem to me to be specifically scripted to accompany the story, and they did that instead of using chopped up editing to accent improvisation. To me, the strongest aspects of The World's End are 2 main reasons, and the first is that it has a real plot to carry the movie. Where earlier in the summer we got a straightforward comedy with This Is the End putting the emotional center of the film on the back burner, The World's End places that sincerity in the film's spotlight. This brings me to my second reason, which sees the film transition itself into something completely different as it progresses. It gradually changes into a horror film, and I saw The Village of the Damned and The Day of the Triffids influencing this film quite a bit. My Uncle Ben was a huge Day of the Triffids fan, and I saw that classic movie many times growing up, and it is very nice to see that others appreciate that film as well. This is a quality transformation into a quality horror film, and it feels authentic whether the film is a comedy or a horror movie. On top of all this, there are a few action set pieces that I would deem some of the summer's best. The performers are well above average, and the movie takes the time to give us 5 separate personalities. Having these 5 real individuals was reminiscent of the Full Monty, and Pegg was kind of a spot-on match for Robert Carlyle's lead in the 90s classic. Pegg was funny, but his constant Biff Lomanisms hit me the wrong way from time to time. Frost was very humorous and once again proves a great compliment to Simon Pegg. This time Frost portrays an upstanding and responsible guy, and he more than steals the show in many spots. Rosamund Pike adds just enough affection to the film, and Martin Freeman and the other 2 round out the cast nicely, but what stood out to me was the fact that together everyone works well as a collective ensemble. Now, I do have some nitpicking issues, as I usually do. The first is, after an original ride most of the way, the end seemed to simply pay homage to other alien, apocalyptic, or end-of-the-world movies. Then the relationship between Pegg and Frost drove the first 2 films, but it loses a bit here because of the 3 additional lead characters. You know, I like Simon Pegg, and he is hilarious in this film, but sometimes his character Gary just became too much for me. He has issues with each of the other 4 guys at one point or another, and it's hard to side with someone that's unlikable sometimes. Finally, the film goes out of its way to be so devoted to the past and be retro, and the main character of Gary seems to be trapped in the past, and he's the loser of the group. I just didn't understand that. At right around 1 hour and 50 minutes, maybe The World's End got a tad too long near the end, but it was a shit ton of laughs and hilarity along the way. Though not a perfect character, Pegg's Gary is extremely funny and a great anti-hero, while Frost and the rest of the guys pick up any slack left over from the slacker. I absolutely loved the addition of the music from the 90s, and all of those tunes were a welcome treat. Once again, Wright, Pegg, and Frost combine laughs with horror, and somehow it all plays out correctly. I don't know what else to say except that I laughed, laughed hard, and laughed frequently. Nick's Real Screen Review is a very highly recommended 3.5 stars out of 4, and that's for the comedy The World's End. Well, I'm afraid that's all the time that I have today, and thanks so much for stopping by. If you have enjoyed this review, please click like below and give me a thumbs up, or subscribe to either or both We Live Film or Real Screen Reviews if you haven't yet already. I'm sure that I'll be returning soon enough with more movie and trailer reviews, and until next time, people, this is Nick Iacobucci saying, I'm not always right, but only when it comes to the movies, and thank you for your attention.